Good evening. We have a live look for you at Ukraine tonight. Right now it's about 4 a.m. and Ukraine and Russia have agreed to talks as fighting rages on in Ukraine's largest cities. Thanks so much for joining us tonight at 9. I'm Savannah Louie. Tonight, Russian President Vladimir Putin amplifies tensions overseas, putting nuclear forces on alert. Talks between Russian and Ukrainian delegations will take place today on the border. The Russian president points to what he calls aggressive statements by top NATO powers and financial sanctions. Putin's order raises new fears about how this crisis in Ukraine could unfold as the United Nations agreed to hold an emergency session on the invasion today.
It's really a pattern that we've seen from President Putin through the course of this conflict, which is manufacturing threats that don't exist in order to justify further aggression.
Today, the U.S. Secretary of State announcing nearly $54 million in humanitarian aid to Ukraine. Tensions are so high in Russia right now. In protests around the country, Russians chanted no to war and police in riot gear made arrests. There is a lot to unpack right now. Tonight, we have a special guest in the studio to discuss more on the war happening in Ukraine, along with some of the impacts felt here in the U.S. Professor and author Nikolav Koposov with the School of History and Sociology at Georgia Tech joins us now. Nikolav, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, I want to jump right in here. Today, Russian President Putin put his country's nuclear deterrence forces on high alert. If you could explain to us, what exactly does this mean?
Well, this means that he threatens the world with a nuclear war. That's it.
So talk to us a little bit. What are we seeing right now, and where could we go from here?
This is the 5th day of the war. In Ukraine, it's already Monday. And the Russian offensive so far was, to say the least, not very successful. Putin has made everything to make everybody understand that this is his war. So the consequences for him personally can be very serious if he loses the war. So he's ready to do whatever it needs to win the war, including the use of tactical and strategic nuclear weapons. And if this man at some point will realize that there are two alternatives, either he dies alone or he blows up the planet, I'm not sure which of those alternatives he will choose.
I mean, based off of what we're discussing right now, I know a lot of folks are scared right now. Is there a real reason for us to be scared here in America?
Yes.
Yes?
We are dealing with a madman with a lot of nuclear bombs. It's dangerous.
Yeah. I know tensions have really been building for some time, but many people thought that leading up to this conflict was almost a bluff, in a sense. Talk to us about how we got here. I know there's a lot of history involved, but how did we get here?
Well, Putin wants, I guess, to get Russia's empire back. Russia lost its empire as a result of perestroika and the collapse of the Soviet Union. And there are people, including in Russian secret services and the army, who want to get everything back, who want Russia to become a great power for everybody in the world to be afraid of her. This is their goal. And in order to achieve this goal, they are ready for more or less everything. The conflicts with Ukraine began something like 15 years ago, if not earlier. And what is at stake in those conflicts is whether Ukraine will re-become part of the Russian Empire, will be an obedient state, will do what the Kremlin wants her to do, or, as many Ukrainians prefer, it will go closer to the West and will try to build a democracy. In Russia, as I'm sure we all know, there is no democracy at this point. Ukrainians are trying to build a democratic state, and this is what Putin hates. He thinks it's a danger for himself, for his rule, and that is why he finally invaded Ukraine.
I know you came over to America back in 2009, but you still have many loved ones, family, friends back in Russia. Have you spoken to them?
Every 30 minutes. Every 30 minutes we speak with our family members who are in Russia and our friends. Everybody is terrified. I have so far met no single Russian person who would approve Putin's war. And they all believe he's crazy. They all want only one thing, that he disappears. I guess that's what we all need.
Yeah. Well, hey, I want to thank you again so much for being here and for sharing that insight with all of us here in the studio and also here at home as well. Really
Thank you
appreciate your
so
time.
much. Thanks.
Of course. All right. Well,